The day after returning to New Sukhothai from my Satchanalai Historical Park adventure, I returned to Sukhothai Historical Park to see the Wats in the outer zones. I used a tuk-tuk as shown in the photo to get the 12 kilometers or 7.5 miles between the hotel and the historical park. This cost 200 baht or around $5.50 each way. Once at the entrance to the park, I arranged for a private electric cart with driver to take me throughout the outer zones. This cart is shown in the photo. These carts wait in a queue for people to hire them. The driver said this would take about 3 hours, and the charge for this was 300 baht, around $8 per hour, or 900 baht, around $24.50 for the 3 hours. So the cost of transport for this day ended up totaling around 1,300 baht, or around $35. All the transportation was private, and the cart driver waited for me at each of the destinations while I made my videos. We started in the east zone and traveled in a counterclockwise direction through the north, west, and south zones respectively. The north and west zones each had a 100 baht, around US $2.80 entrance fee. After the south zone, it was a short trip back north to our starting point. I think we were just 5 minutes short of the 3 hours when we arrived back, so it worked out pretty well. This is Sukhothai Historical Park, East Zone, Wat Chang Lom. Wat Chang Lom, or Elephant Circled Monastery, is about 1 kilometer east of the main park entrance. This is the counterpart to the Wat of the same name in Satchanalai Historical Park. A large bell-shaped chedai in the Lanka, Sinhalese, south of India, style is surrounded by 39 elephants sculpted into its base so they appear to have half a body. Next to the pagoda is the chapel and the base of Kampang, Gampang meaning exterior wall in Thai, cow walls that were made of bricks. Wat Chang Lom is comprised of a large Sinhalese-styled principal bell-shaped chedai, a vihara, and 2 subsidiary chedai. The square temple area is surrounded by a laterite wall with an entrance gate on the east side. Wat Chang Lom's most important structure is its large, well-preserved, elephant-encircled chedai, a circular bell-shaped chedai in Sinhalese style. Enclosed by its own wall, the chedai stands on a high, 2-tiered base. Standing around the first tier are the 39 large elephant sculptures, 8 on the east side, 9 on the other sides, and 1 larger elephant at each of the 4 corners. From a distance, it looks like the elephants carry the structure on their backs. Once covered with plaster adorned with elaborate carved decorations, most of them are in a state of disrepair. In front of the elephants are buds of lotus flowers. In Buddhism, elephants are considered a symbol of mental strength, auspicious animals that protect Buddhism, often seen guarding temples. The flight of stairs on the east side leads to the circumambulation platform surrounded by balusters, where Buddhist devotees would circle the Chedai in a clockwise direction. Around the second tier are 20 arched niches that each contain an image of the Buddha in the Bhumisparsha Mudra, a hand gesture symbolizing the Buddha's enlightenment.
This is Sukhothai Historical Park, North Zone, Wat Si Chum.
Wat Si Chum contains an impressive mondap with a 15-meter brick and stucco seated Buddha. A mondap is a small, square, spired building in a wat, derived from the Sanskrit mandapa. This Buddha's elegant taper fingers are much photographed. Archaeologists theorize that this image is the Pra-Achana mentioned in the famous Ramkhamhaeng inscriptions and means the unshakable one. A passage in the mondap wall that leads to the top has been blocked so that it is no longer possible to view the Jataka relating to Gautama Buddha, inscriptions that line the tunnel ceiling. The roof has already disintegrated, exposing just 4 walls of stuccoed bricks. There is a narrow passageway in the south wall with steps leading up to the side of the Buddha image and onto the top part of the wall. On the wall of the passageway features 700-year-old fainted paintings, while on the ceiling are more than 50 engraved slate slabs illustrating Jataka scenes. A spectacular panoramic view of the Sukhothai ancient city is visible on the rooftop, accessible by the passageway. The passage is now closed due to safety concerns. To boost morale of the ancient soldiers was the main reason for such a passage. The kings of the Pra-Rung dynasty were famous for that. One could go through the hidden passageway and address the people through a hole, making them believe the voice they were hearing was actually the Buddha's. There are no windows here.
This is Sukhothai Historical Park, North Zone, Wat Phrapai Luang.
Wat Phrapai Luang is a somewhat isolated wat featuring 3 12th century Khmer-style towers, bigger than those at Wat Si Chum in the central zone. This may have been the center of Sukhothai when it was ruled by the Khmers of Angkor prior to the 13th century. Angkor, Cambodia was the capital city of the Khmer Empire from the 9th to 15th centuries. The Wat Phrapai Luang is located near the Sang Long Gate in the North City Wall, just outside of the old walled town. The temple dates to the end of the 12th century or early 13th century before the founding of the Sukhothai Kingdom, which makes it one of the oldest monuments in Sukhothai. The large temple is built on a square area surrounded by a 600-meter-long moat. Its buildings aligned on an east-west axis. Since its structures were built during different periods, the temple shows the evolution in Sukhothai architecture and art. It contains examples of different architectural styles, such as Khmer, Sukhothai, and Ayutthaya. The first structures built were 3 Khmer-style prangs, a tall tower-like spire, of which only the northern one is still intact. This 13th century prang is adorned with fine stucco reliefs of Hindu depictions and scenes from the life of the Buddha. The pediment, a triangular space usually filled with relief sculpture, over the false west entrance contains a detailed stucco relief of the Buddha in the Calling the Earth to Witness mudra and a number of devotees. The stuccoed reliefs are in a similar style as those on early 13th century Khmer monuments in Angkor. Most of them have been removed and taken to the Ramkhamhaeng National Museum for safeguarding. Like most Khmer prangs, the entrance faces east, with false doors on the other three sides. On the floor of the remains of the central and south prang lies a linga base, stylized phallic symbol, where centuries ago the linga stood that was worshipped as the representation of the Hindu god Shiva. In front of the prangs stood the principal viharn. The base and pillars of the large building remain today. In the large pillars are holes at different heights where the wooden roof beams were fitted. The viharn was surrounded by many smaller chedais, of which just the base remained. Behind the principal chedai is a square area that was surrounded by galleries. In the center stands a stepped pyramidal chedai with tiers of diminishing size with niches that enshrined images of the Buddha. It is surrounded by 15 smaller prangs. This is Wat Chang Rop. I've incorrectly marked it on the map as Wat Phrapai Luang. It's actually at the hook in the road under the red arrow I have pointed to Wat Phrapai Luang. Wat Chang Rop lies 2 kilometers west of Sukhothai in the wooded hills as a forest temple. During the Sukhothai period, the Buddhist monks could be divided according to their way of life in 2 groups. The first group preferred to live in monasteries within the city and focus on Tripitaka study. Therefore, this group was called city monks or Kamawasi. The other group preferred to practice meditation and often lived in monasteries outside the city in quiet forest areas, therefore called forest monks or Aranyawasi. Wat Chang Rop was one of the temples for forest monks during that time. The main structure of the temple is a bell-shaped stupa standing on a large square base. There are niches with 24 elephants on the 4 sides of the stupa. This stupa is probably the first in Sukhothai having the Lanka style. In front of the stupa are the remains of a small vihara with laterite pillars.